Yo, what is up? Today I'm gonna talk about what I struggled with being a creative person, being a creative artist. And I do believe that there's lots of value in this for other fellow creative people. Because first thing that I want to talk about is that whenever we are born, we are kind of like, like game characters when you get to customize your game character into video games, like level up certain characteristics more than the others. And some people are just born with like more athletic, more creative, more better number head, like anything like that. So the point is that the starting point for everyone is a bit different, and this is for people who have already high points, high stats in creativity since birth, but you still might struggle in some things like making money from it, making business from it. Okay, so first of all, let's talk just a bit like what creativity is. So basically, to be creative, you need to create something, and usually when you create something, you need to break it down first. Like it's first gonna be a chaos before you build something from it. So naturally, when someone is creative and they're trying to create something, this is why you often see like some artist like rooms or something, and it's just like super chaotic. This is pretty much the reason. I'm not saying like being messy and all the stuff, using it as a cope or anything is good or anything, but it's something interesting to be aware of. So basically, the creative process is pretty messy and it is pretty chaotic. So therefore, creativity equals chaos in some sense. There needs to be chaos in order to create something. And when we think about money, success, that comes from business. Okay, what is business? Business is control. So these two, chaos and control, they are literally opposites, like the exact opposites of each other. So in case you are someone who is naturally creative person, but maybe you're not a business person naturally, no wonder that you don't struggle at creating amazing things, but you still struggle to make money from it. It's because these are like the total opposites of each other, Doesn't matter if you're the world's biggest creative genius, too much creativity without control doesn't get you anywhere. So we have the chaos and we have the control, and as an artist, you cannot be just on the creative side. You need to balance it and be in the middle in order to succeed. So it would be the same thing as if you would go to the gym and you try to do like a pull-up, but you cannot do it. Let's say you have like amazing hand, arm muscles and chest or whatever, but then your back is super weak somehow. It's like you have this skinny back and like big ass biceps and shoulders or whatever, and you literally cannot get yourself up because your back is so skinny. So what do? You train your back to make it equal, to make it balanced, So this is the kind of same thing. You're already super creative, so now you just need to learn and train to have some control over it. Okay, now I'm gonna tell you a bit about my story and how I managed to overcome this creativity problem. So I try to make this quick. So even since I was born, I've been like really talented in like art, like painting, drawing, that kind of stuff. And then I started to dance, do this thing called break dancing. And then I started to eventually do music. I started with learning to make beats, to produce, and then eventually I started to rap, and then to make my own songs, and then I like to mix and master them a bit. And I did that for quite a good amount of time. I think I did it for like 10 years or something, and I kept releasing music for a while. But then I hit this thing that I think a lot of artists hit, is this horrible feeling of when you putting into a lot of work into something, even though it might not be like the best album ever made, but it is something that you're proud of and you put into a lot of efforts. Then just to realize that literally no one cares, no one's gonna listen to it. Maybe your mom if she has time, but like no one is gonna listen to it. And I mean, I'm not an idiot. Of course, I always knew that marketing is something I should do, and like promoting the music. But honestly, because I was just so obsessed with the music, and I was so obsessed with like doing everything by myself, which takes a lot of time. Like if you have done this, you know how much time it takes. Produce, record the vocals, and mix and master the whole thing yourself, and then you create the cover art or whatever. That takes that takes quite a lot of time. honestly doing this with the work on the side, I just didn't have the motivation or the energy left to do the marketing or whatever. But this is the scope. Like I was basically being an idiot, but I just had the energy to do the thing that I loved the most and had the passion for. But then, end of the day, did I have, like, after these 10 years, did I have anything to show for it? No. I had some music that I took pride in because I did everything by myself, but like no one cares, and like no one wouldn't even like know if you're done it with someone else's help or not, and no one listens to it. So it is a bit heartbreaking. And then after that, I just figured that this is like I need to get in the bottom of this, and I got like super obsessed with business. I got super obsessed with marketing because I was just thinking to myself like this is the missing piece. Like this is like what I need to figure out. So I became obsessed. I studied that stuff for many years. So from there on, I've been helping other artists to overcome this same problem that I had before, help them with marketing, setting up their business, and so on. Okay, now let's talk about the things that actually helped me to overcome this crazy creative ADHD brain. I don't know if you can relate, but because of the chaotic nature of creativity, like the creative people tend to be a bit like ADHD-ish because like, oh, you want to create this thing, or then you want to create it into this thing, and then you want to create this another thing at the same time, and then this thing and this thing, so that's kind of what I was dealing with. So basically the things that I did to fix my mind was just, first of all, like the simple stuff that everyone knows but not everyone is doing. Eating clean, good diet, and training almost every day, having rest days once in a while, and controlling my dopamine consumption, meaning that no brain rots, no games, social media, all that like stuff. Just like not do much of that stuff. If you're like into self-help, self-improvement at all, you probably know this stuff already because everyone keeps talking about this. So I'm not gonna get too much into it. But that is the foundation and the base of everything. So the way you should think about it is that if you do these things, that basically makes your brain normal. It doesn't make you better, it doesn't make you genius or anything, but it kind of just keeps your brain normal and healthy. Okay? So actually eating junk and playing games and brain rot content, that stuff is not normal. It's just you self-sabotaging your own brain, pretty much. So my point is, doing these good habits should just be like a kind of like a norm. It should be a base. It isn't like something crazy, But it is obviously something that takes time to get used to. And then obviously learning to be disciplined comes from the training and actually like doing these things. So eventually you will learn discipline. And I'm gonna talk a bit later about this too, but like making a schedule and actually sticking to it, no matter how you feel, you're gonna be like get disciplined. And that is like the perfect medicine to kind of like chaotic, unplanned, uncontrolled life, which is something that a lot of creative people have. And the one big thing, especially for creative people, is that get used to not watching entertainment or like listening to entertainment like music. Like the whole point in all of this is to keep your brain as normal, at the normal base, healthy base, standard settings as possible, and not to infect it with like stuff and throw like more stuff in there. Like for example, when you feel stressed, you don't like throw more things in there to feel less stressed. No, you like remove things to feel less stressed and more clear and more relaxed. Okay, so just get used to not having entertainment all the time. Like just like sitting around, and like if you feeling kind of trouble in your mind, and you're used to like coping and like doing something on your phone or just playing games or whatever, just don't do all that cope stuff. Just sit and think. It sounds so simple, but it's so hard to do for many people. Just sit and think and like write down some thoughts you have. And this is such a like simple, but it's such a like life-changing habit. Well, it's life-changing sounds too amazing, but it's really has really big impact when you start like doing it a lot more. So for example, nowadays often, for example, if I'm like going somewhere, I don't listen to music, but instead I just sit or walk or whatever in my thoughts. I just think and I naturally start to like solve things and organize things in my mind. And You need to give a bit of space to your brain to work and just like reset, if that makes sense. So don't always like fill the gaps in your life with some entertainment stuff. Okay, that's it. And now we're gonna move into talking about having structure and more control over my life. So like I said before, just writing things down, journaling, is just really good habit. Just get used to it. Start switching some habits into just journaling. If you feel like there's even like a small problem in your head and you feel kind of uneasy, that like you don't feel really good and clear and relaxed, then there's probably something that you should like write down and figure out. Whenever I feel a bit like something negative or there's something like trouble with me, I will just sit down and I will write and think about it, and then naturally it will like solve itself. And it's a good way to set goals, keep track of your progress, or just your thoughts. It doesn't need to be anything crazy. You can just sometimes write things down. It's really good. Just get used to it. Writing things down is really different from just thinking about it. So start doing it. It's really easy to start anyways. The second thing is pretty obvious. It's just scheduling your day. Just having like really scheduled day. It doesn't need to be like super scheduled, but I prefer that the things that happen every day and are planned are as similar as possible to every other day, because the more similar your habits are, the more energy you need to put into them, meaning the more energy you have into some more important things or the most important things in your habits. So now you have heard pretty much all the main things that helped me overcome this. But now, depending on how much you watch this type of content, you might have heard most of these things already. And now we get into the probably the most important part out of all of these. And this is the thing that is actually gonna help you do these things and stick to them, because I bet that most people know these are the things you should be doing, more or less, but still the people but still even the people who know still probably don't do it. And this is the reason, this is the source, so pay attention. So we're going to focus on the things that stop us from actually doing these things and sticking to them. And for me, it's just two things. First one is just cope. Cope already. This is something to just pay attention in yourself, be aware of this, that when you're coping and when you're having conversations with yourself in your head, just try to be as truthful as possible and try to like dig into the real reasons, because cope is basically just you lying to yourself, making you feel better. Like for me, I like eating stuff. So for me, it could be that, but I'm just gonna have like one cookie today, and it's not gonna do anything, and I'm gonna work out just harder maybe after it, and I deserve it. I don't need to do so much work today or whatever. So be aware and be real with you. Like, is this the like real reason, or is this just like, are you just coming up with some nonsense? Like, is this really what you actually truthfully think? Because in reality, you know that that's just complete bullshit, right? But eventually you start to notice that it's usually the same things that you cope about. Like, for example, like I said, I like eating stuff. I like eating bad stuff. I like eating too much. So for example, for me, the common cope would be about food. And once you are more aware of this, you get used to confronting yourself in the things that you usually cope with, So let me explain. Whenever I start to think about like food, like I want to eat something, I need to eat something, I'm craving for something, my brain automatically goes into this mode, like this kind of imposter mode, like, I don't know, man, like whatever you're gonna say, it's probably gonna be cope, and it's just probably gonna be nonsense. So my brain automatically is like, well, I'm gonna start lying, because it is about like good food, unhealthy food. So I'm probably gonna start like lying to myself or something. And then it eventually gets easier when you're aware and like your weak points. And the second thing is the things that trigger your bad habits, and how to fix it is to get rid of it. So what does this mean? One example is that having a bag of chips like on your work desk or whatever, and you're a fat cunt and you like eating chips, so that is obviously something that is gonna trigger you and make it more difficult for you to stick to your good habits, right? So that's obvious. Don't have the chips at all. Don't have the chips at all in the house. Don't buy them. Another example would be that when you're stressed, you start to eat bad things like the bag of chips. So this is when things get a bit more complicated and you need to do a bit more work into, because you need to figure out what is stressing you and then you need to get rid of that. Sounds easier than done, but controlling these triggers and being aware of your cope are like the best thing. Like if you can do this, like if you really like put in effort into controlling these two, it is gonna make it so much easier for you to stick to all of your good habits. So you had the road of good habits to your goals, and the road used to be full of all these things in front of you stopping you from going, and by just controlling the triggers and cope is pretty much gonna like clear every one of these things that is in your way on the road. So now you just have the clear road. It's just the clear straight road and you just need to walk it. It doesn't go around. There are no things in front of you. It just makes it so much easier to not fail. Okay, that's pretty much it for this video. Let me know in the comments what you thought about this, and also leave some questions on music business if you have any. And I will see you guys later on the next video. Bye.